Start out by ripping these mahogany runners to be, well, runners. So I'm just going to take the width of the miter slot and I'm going to adjust the caliper, lock it down at that width. I want to take my fence and move it exactly that far over from my blade. So my crosscut sled is 12 inches long, and I want these to stick out a little bit past it so it'll have something to reference off of, so I'm just going to mark these at 15. I'm going to pop the runners into your miter slides, and what you can see here is that it sinks below the table. Well, you want it to be above the table, so usually people put pennies, but in this case I'm just going to put some nuts in there because my runners actually ended up pretty thin, which is not a bad thing. I just had to use a bigger spacer. Now that it sits up just a little bit, now I can go ahead and put my top on top of the runners. So my board here is 30 inches wide, so I want the blade to be at 15 inches. And just to line it up right, I'm going to set it against the fence. What I'm going to do so that the runners stick to the board a little bit is I'm going to put just a couple dots of super glue on each one, and I'm not going to do too much because I don't want it to get on my table. Now I'm going to use the fence to line this up. Now it's not super critical that this be square to the blade, but it'll look better if it is. So you can see that slides pretty easy, and I just now need to add a fence, and I want to use this 2x4. Of course it needs to be planed down and then cut to length and all that before I put it on. Now, unlike most crosscut sleds, this one's going to be especially tricky to square up. Now, the first reason is because I want to keep this one as a 45-degree crosscut sled, meaning that my blade's always tilted at 45 degrees when I make a cut. So I'm about to go ahead and do that before I even make my first lineup cut. And the second one is I don't want to put a back fence on this, so I'm not limited in width. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to just glue a sacrificial piece down to keep my base together while I put the front fence on. Now I'm going to hot glue this scrap piece right here to hold the sled together while I square up the front. I have one screw in the fence that that it can pivot on, and what I have is a cut right here, and then this board's glued on to hold it together. And so I'm going to take my square, line it up with this cut, and then square up the fence as best I can. I'm going to put one drop of hot glue right in this corner. So now I've just cut this board, and I can check that this cut is square, and it looks to be pretty good. So I guess I'm going to screw that fence in now. Now that I got the fence in place, nice and square, screwed it down, I want to take this little extra piece off. Alright, now I'm going to add this decorative piece you just saw me cut. Now, while it is decorative, it serves some purpose. As I raise the blade, this is going to get weaker in here, and since there's no back fence, this needs to be able to hold these two sides together. So it'll help do that and stabilize this. So I'm going to go ahead and glue that on. Now I made this miter sled about a week ago, and since then I've glued up this box, and it's just pallet wood. But I'm gonna end up making it into like two little drawers that come out of it. And I think it's gonna look pretty cool. But it turned out pretty square, and I'm pretty happy with it. And this is still doing pretty good despite heavy using pine for the fence. You would think it's not the best, but it seems to be working all right.